Let me share my slides. So yes, today I want to tell you a bit about Rhuthenium catalyzed olefin metathesis industrial application. So I'm working for the Apeiron synthesis, and we specialize in production of such a catalyst, and I will highlight you some of the best promising application of this complexity. Wait me a sec. So So first I will briefly introduce you to our company, who we are and what we do. Then I think we're gonna go to the core of presentation, and we're gonna I will show you application. I think the fourth most important segment. So it's a pharmaceutical one. So we're gonna see some API production. We're gonna see how to synthesize renewable chemicals using olefin metathesis. I'm gonna touch briefly on the fine chemicals, showing some pheromone synthesis and microcyclic mass production, as well as the advanced materials, which is mostly being the polymers and some 3D printing. And I'm gonna finish my presentation with a couple of examples of things beyond olefin metathesis. Especially, I will talk a bit about flow chemistry and Rhuthenium scavenging. So to start, at Apeiron, we are leading the way with the metathesis. We focus on synthesizing the catalyst. You can see, I think, our two most successful one on the slide. So, but starting briefly, what is olefin metathesis? This is a beautiful reaction between the two olefins that allow us to jungle with the substituent. So this reaction is in equilibrium, so we can play a lot of tricks. And of course, now it's 21 years since it received a Nobel Prize from Graf, Hoveyda, and Schrock. And we're going to show you the mechanism of the reaction. I guess most of you are completely aware of it and how to use it. And maybe even aware with one of our products, which is nitrogrelin. So you can see it's very similar to the Hoveyda catalyst, but it has this electron withdrawing group. And I think this was one of our first products delivered to the client. And since then, we really work a lot. We have almost 130 patents. And we have a lot of the catalysts in our portfolio. And what is important, we also produce in Poland. As we are based in the EU, we have two facilities. Sorry? Forget about it, yes. So we produce everything in Poland and within EU in our two sites in beautiful city of Wrocław. To give you some more numbers, so over the years, we synthesized, I think, more than 100 catalysts. So we really have a huge library of available catalysts for different applications. We have a lot of specialists in R&D, both in the synthesis and the reaction discovery. So we really can help to implement the metathesis. We have a lot of history of successful commercial projects to help our clients scale up. We are on the market for the 16 years, and I think over the years we sell more than 500 clients. And then you can see a sneak peek of our headquarters in Wrocław, as well a picture from our lab where we synthesize multi-kgs amount of our catalyst. So as I said to you before, we are present whenever the metathesis is. So basically, I think that metathesis is present in 4 different sectors. So one is the pharmaceutical one. So I will show you some examples of microcirculation reactions and other ring closing metathesis that are used to API production. Then I'm going to touch briefly on the renewables. It's mostly production of inner alpha olefin from rapeseed oil. I'm going to go to the fine chemicals, showing an example of the pheromone synthesis and microcyclic mass synthesis. And I'm going to also give you a couple examples of our use of our catalyst in the advanced material or polymer sector. To give you some unique selling points about our companies is basically we really appreciate technological excellence. So we really have a broad portfolio of the catalysts with a tailored structure for a given application. So whatever is your problem with olefin metathesis, whatever you think, shall I use it? What is your problem? Or you have some problem in the past, or it was some maybe IP problem or technological problem. We really overcome it. So metathesis now, it's it's more than the 20 years since the Nobel Prize. So this is really now the time to roll up metathesis. And there are the multi-ton processes running on metathesis. And we are more than happy to help our customer to run those processes with a new catalyst, to help really save with the technological excellence that we provide. Of course, we do that with the collaboration. So we are more than happy, to start small, to develop small project, develop some road scouting, some optimization reactions, and then together with the partnership modes, bring scale up slowly the production and help you out really to produce the Metathesis product at scale. And as I mentioned, I won't be giving you maybe like a formal introduction with all the, the catalytic cycle, as well as all the details about Metathesis. But sorry. Yeah, I would appreciate the mute there. But I will point you out to the two amazing reviews from the recent years. One of them is coming from the Grala's lab, and it's really focusing on the electron withdrawing the catalyst, the olefin metathesis with electron withdrawing substituents. And it's also pointing out the formal papers and really highlight some of application in industry. And you can see the similar sectors. The second one is from about using of this new carbon ligand called cyclic alkyl aminocarbene. So basically, this is so the first you can see these complexes were developed with the phosphine. Then they call the NHC carbon ligand. And finally there's the push toward the CAX, who really brings new application to the field, or really enabling technology for running another type of metathesis not possible before with the phosphine or the NHC ligand. So to start, I will go with you with application pharmaceutical examples, and I will open with our project with Boehringer Ingelheim. So this is a project that we run with the collaboration. So they come to the problem was for the company to synthesize this kind of receptor. Present in one of the APIs. The problem was when you want to use olefin metathesis, you need to run metathesis of the very challenging vinyl ethyl substrate. Also, the catalyst loading was really 5 to 8%, so that was really high loading. It was more for discovery rather than for the process. And the other process was the limited functional group tolerance. So what we did, we worked together, and it was one of our catalysts, the nitroglycerol catalyst, that was really able to be efficient at very low concentration. So you can see here it was a 3%. 0.03 mole percent of the catalyst, so that was very good loading. It was we provide yields about 80%, and it was really tolerate toward different groups, especially from the S3 groups present here on the molecule. And it is one of the few projects that we can fortunately share, because this is run in collaborative manner, and Boehringer decided to publish with us in the Chem Science, so you can see how our collaboration roll up. But this is not the only example. The other example is this Catalysed K inhibitor. So you can see the different sides of the ring. So metathesis is really pretty unique, because you can really form a lot of different rings with it. So we can assemble 5, 6, 7 member ring examples, as well as microcycles that we will see today. This is a very robust synthesis, and then along the way, it's a pretty nice way to synthesize such a unique rings with a different substituents. And you can see here, there's a small change. So now we don't using this classical nitroglycerol catalyst with this trimetal substituent. We're now moving to this 2,6-diisopropyl substituent. And you can see such a small change can really bring a lot of increase in the yield and performance of the catalyst. So it's really like, this is what we really our expertise. So playing with the structure of the catalyst, the properties of the catalyst to deliver the best application. Another example is, but now it's, I think, rising fields to run some reactions in water media, because of course it's environmentally friendly, or maybe we want to run metathesis in living cells, which is also the growing application. And we also developed the catalyst with this TAC ammonium salt in the back, which is fully water soluble, which allow to run reaction in water, but also is very easy after to remove because of this polar character of this group. So this is something that is very interesting to have, and showing our expertise in how we develop, different catalysts for different applications. Another example. So here we have, I think it's also coming from the Boehringer. This is the HCF potash inhibitor. I think it failed in the phase 3 of the clinical trials, but nevertheless there was the really, I think, multi-kilogram scale of synthesis of this microcycle by Boehringer. And what is important, I think the catalyst of choice for this microcyclization is again the nitroglycerol catalyst produced by Apeiron synthesis. And if you go through the literature to see how they optimize it, you can see that it's really a lot of decrease, not only in the catalyst loading. So you don't only need to use less catalyst, but if you use the classical grabs or Hoveyda catalyst, but you also need less solvent. And then you can also increase the reaction time because the catalysts are more active, for example. So this is really, you really want to screen a lot of our catalysts to have the best performance and then saving in the process that you need to run. Another example, this may be not commercial one, but showing the robustness of our catalyst is coming from Kramer Lab. So you can see it's not microcyclizations, but rather late stage fractalization. So it's like showing that metathesis, you can really run metathesis for a complex molecule. And you can see that basically this reaction is enabled by using of nitrogen catalyst, because when you use the classical grabs catalyst on Hoveyda second generation catalyst, the yields are poor. You have to lose a very high loading, and this is not something that could happen. So this is also, I think, highlighted in this very nice Apeiron paper, showing that really the choosing of the catalyst is very important for the late stage APA production, and metathesis is a viable route to use. I think the recent example is coming from Merck. So they have what they call, I think, the biggest small molecule. So you can see there's a very unique peptide molecule that was microcycled using Rhuthenium catalyst. But I think now they change the synthetic route, but I think till phase 3 it was running on metathesis, and this was run on the multi-kilogram scale, showing that feasibility of that approach. And again, you can see what the catalyst of choice was the Zen catalyst, which is the analog of the Grella catalyst, also having this very specific electron withdrawing group. So it's the same idea, how to have the more active catalyst. And it's patented. So basically it's not available. So in comparison, our new nitrogen catalyst, because it's like so old on the market, now it's off patent. So it's a generic catalyst that we have in our offer. And it really works very well in synthesizing of this microcycles. And you can see, so even the top companies are really using the metathesis to produce this very complex molecule that could be used as a drug. And last but not least, you can synthesize these peptides not only in the liquid. So if you are working with the solid state synthesis peptides, you're doing some discovery of there's technological stapling peptides to stabilize the shape and the helical to have a better performance as a drug. And metathesis was really the technology that enabled stapling of this peptide. I think it was the first example of stapling of the peptides comes with metathesis and is used to this day. There's plenty of the Rhuthenium catalysts that are used to stapling these molecules, even in the solid state synthesis, not only in batches. Going further, I want to show you some examples from renewables. And I think the standard example here is ethanolysis reaction. So basically you can use ethylene and cut with the scissors more complex olefins. And I think the best example is ethanolysis of methyl olate. So we have this fatty acid metal ester. We put ethylene under high pressure of the ethylene, and you can run reaction. You can see it's neat reaction, so you don't need any solvents. You can see you can use our catalyst slash cut. So we have this very specific rigid CAC ligand, and we have a tailored co-ligand here for easiness of synthesis and stability of the complex. And you can see this reaction can be run at 0.25 ppm, turnover numbers over the million. So you can really produce, from really couple of grams catalyst, you can have a kgs of the final product. And it's like 1-dicene, which is used as a starting material to a lot of chemicals, as well as sustainable aviation fuel, as well as 9-dama that could be used in synthesize some interesting molecules for the API. And our catalyst, we have the patent on the slash cut. We also have the published our results, so you can go there seeing the jugs for yourself, the performance of our catalyst and all different catalysts that we synthesize. So this is the best performing, but we synthesize the whole library with a unique CAC ligand. And then it's very nicely working to cutting these chemicals and produce these value-added products with really not a lot of the catalyst. And to show you that you can further use this green chemicals like mine gamma, you can valorize it one more time with the olefin metathesis, because now we have this nice terminal olefin that could be functionalized. So you can run another self-metathesis with another of our catalysts containing this cyclic amino alkyl ligand called UltraCat. You can run self-metathesis, and you can have this very nice deacid molecule that can go further to semaglutide. So you can see that now the GLP-1 analog is a huge market. We have Novo Nordisk with the semaglutide in their Wegovy tablet, as well as the tirzepatide for Eli Lilly. And here you can see it's not a C18, it's a C20. So we need to start from a different olefin, but one more time, you can use our catalyst with the self-metathesis, giving the C20, the acid, that could be then valorized further to different molecules, including this GLP-1 antagonist. What is important, we can run it on the ester, but thanks to this unique ligand technology and this our unique of our catalyst, you can also run it without protection. So this is something, something basically for the standard GRAPS alpha beta catalyst, this is basically no-go. Whenever you see any OH group, you really try to avoid that. You need to you need to protect this group, or you need to find a way around it. But with our catalyst, if you really need to, you can really run neat even in the presence of such a group. And the reason that is because our catalysts are able to produce primary metathesis products. So usually when you run metathesis, I think one of the biggest problem is that you form ruthenium hydride species inside. And whenever you have ruthenium hydride species, you can cause the isomerization of a double bond, so it's moving. Then you produce a secondary metathesis product, and because it's all in equilibrium, you can imagine your GC or HPLC is looking like a mess. You have a lot of signals. But with our unique catalyst, so either through the CAC technology or through playing with, you can see, for example, here we have a diodo-anion ligand. We also have this bulky NHC ligand. So with playing with the ligands, playing with the coordination sphere of the metal, we can really shift equilibrium towards primary metathesis products, giving us a clean reaction. You just need to get rid of the ethylene, and you can be very happy with your clean product that doesn't need so much purification. Example here, again, I cannot show you like example from industry, but I think the very good example is a recent paper showing you can see this very challenging substrate. And here our catalyst, this nitrogrella with this diisopropyl group and iodine anions show really enabling possibilities. So this is reaction that, when you use the standard catalyst, you screen even the nitrogrella, it's basically the yields are unsatisfactory. You cannot even have enough material to progress with discovery, not mentioning the process chemistry. But with our specific catalyst, you can really avoid isomerization reaction, and you can form this very challenging product. Going further, I want to show you a couple examples from fine chemicals. To start is pheromones. So I think this is the classic example. It's used widely, usually as even model reaction to test different ruthenium catalysts. And of course, our catalysts are performing very well in this reaction. So you can see this 5-ethyl acetate is a sex pheromone for the peach twig borer. So basically, instead of using dangerous chemicals, damage all the insects, you can really make a trap. In the trap, you can put a bit of the pheromones. It's like really active, even at the ppm level. So it's very sensitive towards one insect, and you can really have a efficient crop protection with not a lot of the chemicals. This is really like a green, really green technology, and it's also very atom economy friendly because if you use metathesis, you don't use classic VTIC, because this is how you do this double bond in the classical synthesis. So basically, are able to avoid a lot of toxic waste, a lot of unnecessary steps, and metathesis here is a great thing. And to show you the example from the industry, so here is the one of the pheromone company called Provivi from US. Together with the Saltigo, they have a patent, and you can see here they use ruthenium metathesis first. They use around the cross metathesis, followed by deprotection and another cross metathesis. this one is Z-selective, so it's also metathesis is enabling controlling the geometry of the bond, which sometimes is important, especially for the molecules like pheromones and masks. And we have, from our catalyst portfolio, we have some technologies. We have a catalyst that is very E-selective, so we have a very high E-selectivity, up to 95%. And then in a certain case, we also have some solutions for the Z-selectivity for the certain type of the olefin. So if the correct substrate, you can really synthesize the Z-selective olefins. And this is something that I think it's very interesting because it's really giving you a control, and then you have more geometry that you want in case that you want like a selective metathesis. Another example is microcyclic mask. So this has a very wonderful molecule. So they're coming usually from animals. I think in the historic times now there are a lot of synthetic metals, but what is common between among this class of the molecules, they have a very sensual, warm, and alluring scent. And as you can see on the structure, most of them have a double bond in the structure, or maybe we do hydrogenation, so then you don't need to. But basically, olefin metathesis is a very good technology to produce this very highly effective molecules from the pregnant industry. And to give you an example with the use of our catalyst, here you can see this example type molecule. So basically, we're running here microcyclization in the toluene. As you can see, the standard second generation grabs catalyst at 30 ppm loading at a really low concentration, because this is problem with microcyclization, that you really want to avoid another competitive reaction, so we need to dilute it. And you can see a very poor yield and a very poor turnover number. And then you can see when we move to this new CAC ligand, so when we move away from this classical NHC, this diaminocarbon ligand, to the monoamino ligand, the CAC ligand, then you can see a huge increase in the turnover number. So not only we using less catalyst, we can also increase the concentration, so we don't waste as much solvent as before. We have a very good yield, and you can see a very high turnover number, giving a very good catalyst that basically making the synthesis commercially viable. And basically, it's really what you need to use that microcyclization technique. Is a good catalyst that really is better than the standard grabs that you may have in your lab. To give you more examples, another example, you can see this 9-DAMA. So this is coming from the Apeiron reaction, so it could be completely green. You can run the self-metathesis, so basically you have this bond, and then you can close the ring. So basically, there's a couple of metals that you can close the esters. So basically, it's like not microcyclization, but you can assemble the mass before, and then you can synthesize value-added chemicals using our catalyst. And again, the CAC catalysts are especially good because they avoid isomerization of this bond here. And there are plenty of examples that our catalysts are very good, so you can run these reactions at very low catalyst loading, as low as 20 ppm, and basically this is enabling this technology either through the self-metathesis or the cross-metathesis, because you can basically change for any partner, and this reaction will work perfectly. You just need to tailor the conditions, and you can have the access to a lot of substrates from different masks. And last but not least is advanced materials. So basically, I think I will talk about the ring opening metathesis polymerization. So it's a shortcut that you can see in the field. They're just saying that's romp. There are a couple others like acyclic diene polymerization, but I think it's not yet in industrial application. But what's really drive through this application is I think the most important one is dicyclopentadiene, DCPD. So this is, I think, it's a dirty cheap chemical because it's coming from oil industry as a side product of the cracking. And with a metathesis catalyst, you can basically form a lot of polymers. You can also use norbornene, you can use cyclopentane, cyclooctane, you can use the mixture. And basically, depending on the formulation that you use and the catalyst that you use, you can have a lot of application, starting from the coatings, from reinforcing infrastructure, to basically you can have this plastic instead of the rods in the concrete. The car parts, in the oil and the gas industry, a lot of piping is done with olefin metathesis, and even the green technology of the windmills. So there are parts of the windmills that are done with this very, very resistant plastic done by olefin metathesis. Moreover, what is unique about our company is also we have a range of the latent catalysts. So basically, if you are in the basically what you can do, you can have your olefin that you want to start the process. You can mix it with the latent catalyst. There's no reaction, so you can store it for like a couple of months, and then when you need it, you can activate it either by using chemistry, so either by using acid, HCl, or copper, the couple of metals, or you can just hit it, and that allows you to activate and have the polymer of desired shape. So we have a lot of like modeling or something. And I think we have also the couple of companies that I think are very actively pushing 3D printing. So here is one example from the US. We can see you can really use olefin metathesis in, starting from the APIs, fragrance industry, to really even the 3D printing. So, whenever you see double bonds, probably olefin metathesis is a very good idea, but you need a very good catalyst, of the special properties to handle it. And here, here when you have like, I think if you go into detail, you really need to, for this 3D printing is very important how you mix it, how it's done, what is the activation, can you activate it? And then, the better it is, the more latent your catalyst, the more latent your catalyst, or how activation works, how fast is activation, how fast is the catalyst after activation, then allows you to have these beautiful shapes with a very good resolution. And this is what you can achieve with our catalyst. You can see we have a polka. So this is a catalyst activated by chemically, as well as the heat mat. So basically, this is the catalyst that is inert. You just need to heat it up to have a very nice activation, and then the fast polymerization allowing you to receive a very nice shapes if the 3D printing and very good polymer properties, because it's also depending on the catalyst. You can have different polymer properties that is desired for your application. As an example, we told with this latent catalyst for the ring opening the metathesis polymerization. You can have a very long shelf life, so it's very easy to produce it en masse. You can have bottles with your olefin, with the catalyst inside, maybe co-catalyst, depending on your application. So if you are working on that field, we'll be more than happy to send you our catalyst, and you can work, what is the best formulation for you, what is the best application, what will be the best polymer that you need, and you can choose one of the catalysts for sure will perform so well that you can really scale it up. And last but not least, I will show you some enablers technologies. So I think, especially with this microcyclization reaction and any ring closing reaction, what is really important is the using of the solvent for metathesis and the concentration. So the way to use it is using in the flow system. So in the past, I think we have the catalyst that was immobilized through interaction on the silica gel. So we can see here this is the same catalyst that was solved in water. Now it's stuck to the silica gel. And this one could be used in tube-in-tube technology in your reactor. So tube-in-tube technology is basically this very unique flow reactor design when you run the vacuum. So you have your liquid passing, you have a membrane that is only permeable toward ethylene, and then you remove ethylene using vacuum, allowing to shift equilibrium towards your product, and then you can run reaction at high concentration. And there's a lot of development in that field. I think there's a company called Snapdragon. So they published this novel type of reactor when you use not vacuum, but you flash your reactor with nitrogen, allowing to remove the ethylene, and then you have a very nice conversion to the metathesis product that you want, and then one more time, they show that is not research, though they done it independently from us, but you can see that our catalysts are really the best with this new technology, in the flow reactor as well. So it's not only for the batch chemistry, not only for discovery, but if you have any metathesis run in the flow, our catalyst will probably perform very well. Last but not least, of course, at the end of the reaction, maybe you want to remove rhuthenium because you want to synthesize API, or if you want to get rid of rhuthenium to a panel product or the another process. You have some leftover rhuthenium that is doing some problems with the synthesis. So we also have the solution for that. We have a snatch cut. So this is this molecule very rich with the nitrogen, and this allow up to just mix it with your reactor. You stir it, you filter or distill it from your product, and you have rhuthenium removed. And here you can check up. You have a couple of substrates that we did, and you can see the value of the ruthenium remaining in the product is really the ppm level. Maybe for API it's still too high, but for most for most applications it's a very good the first defense to remove the ruthenium, even starting from the very high loading at the beginning. So you can see how efficient it is, because you see from 1 to 5% of the catalyst. So if you have a lot of ruthenium inside, but then you can remove it efficiently to have your product quite ruthenium free. To sum up everything, I hope I show you that olefin metathesis technology with ruthenium catalyst is really something that is used in the industry. Either if you do API, if you scale the process, if you want to synthesize pheromones, if you want to synthesize any kind of the mask molecule or other molecule used at the pregnant that has a double bond, because in the pregnant industry there is a lot of double bonds. So that's a very powerful technology over there. If you are in the polymer market, there's a really full roll-up of ruthenium catalyst and Apeiron synthesis. We can support you with our catalyst. We can support you with optimization, process development, and we can also help you out to synthesize metathesis intermediate from the feedstock available to you. So we really do a lot of things around metathesis. We have a huge portfolio. I really encourage you to check our website. We have all of our catalysts with a short description, which conditions you should use, what are the best substrates, and basically depending on your needs, you can really check the website, and you can ask me now, or you can pop up the email to me or my colleagues, and we will be more than happy to guide you. Or we can just send you, and then you can go through, to see which catalyst you think is the best application for you. So you can see we have this new CAC ligand, we have a classical Guerrilla catalyst, we have a catalyst for polymerization. If you have a more challenging substrate, for example, that is like a quaternary olefin, we have a solution to that as well, with this reduced bulkiness of the carbon ligand. And if you need just a generic catalyst, then maybe you are already running metathesis process and you need just basically second supplier, we can also do that. We are more than happy to produce the generic olefin metathesis catalyst, like Hoveyda Grabs catalyst or Grabs catalyst second generation. So whatever your metathesis needs, we can see you in discovery. We have metathesis box, so you can reach TCI, or to us directly. We can prepare you a box with 100 mixed samples of several catalysts that you can test yourself. We can test it for you. We can help you develop a metathesis to scale it up from the gram to the kilogram scale. And of course, we're also there when you need the multi-kilogram scale in the bulk. That's for me. I hope I convinced you that 21 years after the Nobel Prize was given, metathesis in the full swing in industrial application. And if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, thanks, Jan. Yeah, so if there are any questions, please put them in the chat. Can maybe get the ball rolling. Most people are typing. I think you showed a material at the end that you called, it might be SnatchCat, to scavenge the metal. Are people using, is that popular, or in reality are people are there sort of other materials, just like carbon, that people can use to scavenge the metal, and do they pass that material back to you to recover the metal as part of to discount over the purchase of fresh catalyst going forward?
Yes, so of course with homogeneous catalyst we cannot reuse it. So basically, I think what could be done is recovery. So you need a part. We can help you out establish the partner with the recovery process, and then basically we send the waste for ruthenium recovery. We have a metal bank, so that's not the problem. The scavenging, so the SnatchCat is basically a solution from us, but there are plenty on the market. So basically, I think even in that application, you can see that the SnatchCat works also for the copper, palladium, and usually all the metals that work for the classical removing of the metal gonna also work for ruthenium. Yes, there's a lot of metals, especially used. I think ruthenium, I think by far the biggest usage, even in homogeneous catalysis, is reduction and hydrogenation with the ruthenium hydride species. So all the metals that are used to remove ruthenium from those reactions are completely applicable to metathesis as well. So that's not the problem. And of course, we're also able to guide you through the process, because now what we can see with all the precious metal, with the gold skyrocketing, we can see this awareness of the price of the metal, but that could be completely recovered. But what is interesting, we have to remember that when you look at our catalyst, it's like by mass, it's only 10%, 10-12% of ruthenium, depending on which catalyst, which cathode you use. So if we really decrease, the loading to the ppm, it's basically, even with the skyrocketing prices, the ruthenium prices are not as important to the price of the catalyst. Recovery, I think, is basically very efficient to run metathesis at the ppm level when you use so less catalyst that you don't need to worry, with the recovery. But of course, if you have a big process, recovery is done, of course, despite the polymers, because in the polymer, it's frozen in the polymer, and then you cannot recover it because it's gone, But then the concentration are even below ppm level.
Okay, thank you. I can't see any other questions, so I'll ask another one whilst maybe anyone is typing. Yes, maybe at the other end of the supply chain, can you maybe speak to the mining of ruthenium, and is it found is there sort of a dedicated mining industry for it, or is it produced as a sort of a byproduct of other materials, like as is the case with palladium?
Yes, I think it's the similar case to the other metal that is a side product. Usually, so there's no specific ruthenium mines. I think ruthenium is very unique in, I think, that sense toward other metals, because the major usage of ruthenium is chemistry. So if you look at the palladium, for example, the major usage is the car industry. If you look at the rhodium, it's still application in technological, in the technical devices in electronics. And I think ruthenium is very unique because I think the biggest user is the chemical industry, and use it as a catalyst, both homogeneous and heterogeneous. So I think it's a very good example of circular economy. And ruthenium is really doing well. So it's the price, of course, it's following the gold and other precious metal right now. But I think, what we see now with the gold is just a hiccup, let's hope, and the price gonna come back to a more realistic level. And I think the same will happen for ruthenium. But I think the shortage, of ruthenium is not gonna happen. I think it was a bit, I think, the problem with the supply chain during the COVID. So that was, I think, a lot of people, the demand slow up, so the production slow ups, and then I think now we are eating through the reserve of ruthenium. So now I think the production gonna ramp up. So ruthenium is also produced in Russia, so that's a bit some ruthenium was concerning about, but I think now majority moved to Africa. So I think, for example, we are sure that none of the ruthenium we used is coming from Russia. That it's a very sensitive issue right now with all the wars and with the Putin over there. So I think that's something, but I think it's pretty safe. And I think for the chemical industry, I think in the forthcoming future, I think with the circular recovery of ruthenium is gonna be pretty okay. And I don't see any big, I think as long as this tremendous price for the PMG metals gonna fall, I think in next year, let's hope, that's gonna be still a very viable technology. And still, it's not as it's important as for heterogeneous, because there's really not a lot of the ruthenium in final catalyst. So it's still, if you look like a low level ppm level for API or something, there's not multi kg of ruthenium there. So the cost of ruthenium in final API product is really negligible.
Okay, thank you. There's a further question. Can you speak a little bit about the steric and electronic features of your, I think this means ester stable catalysts that enable them to avoid chelation and tolerate these functional groups, or and also provide any sort of favorite references associated with that topic?
I think so. You can see my presentation. I think we're gonna send it. I think I will distribute. I will give you the access to it, but you can also go to our website. And you can see we publish a lot. So a lot of our results are in the patent, but we also we have a strong R&D. So from time to time, we drop the publication. So for example, in this ACS Catalysed, you can really see this mechanical investigation. There are also a group in Canada that we work with from Professor Falk, and she's doing a lot of how the CAC ligand is unique in that sense. But I think the main message here is in comparison to the NHC, CACs are electrophilic. So basically, so it's basically the steric that protects the ruthenium to become ruthenium hydride, and the second one is even if it becomes ruthenium hydride species, you hydrogenate the CAC ligand. So it's coming off, and then you have inactive ruthenium black metal on residue. So basically, this is what is allowing you to avoid site reaction. So basically, it's like a dual role. So basically, thanks to the CAC, the active ruthenium species in the reaction mixture is very stable, so you don't have any site reaction. And then even if you see the composition of it, it's going to inactive ruthenium species. So that doesn't, really influence the reaction outcome, and the impurity profile is very decent. Yeah, so you don't see a lot of side products. And this is also what could be play out with a normal classical NHC, but then for example, you can play the tricks with the coordination sphere with the iodo ligand. And also what is important, I think is, of course, I need to mention that is the kinetic of reaction. So metathesis, because it's the equilibrium reaction, the kinetics play a role. So this is why it's so important to have this electron withdrawing group, for example, in comparison to the classical catalyst, because this is really about the stability of the active species, how fast we can get this active species, how efficient is this active species in the media, and how we decompose. I think there's a lot of papers over there, but I think our catalysts are basically a state of the art, and it's really balancing. There's also, I think, importance of testing of a lot of the catalysts. So depending on your application, if you have like unprotected alcohol, it's okay to run metathesis, but you have a good catalyst. Maybe if you protect it, you can decrease even lower, but really depends on the starting material. But it's from case to case. But I think the whole idea is that basically this CAC ligand is a bit bulkier than NHC in general, and then it provides more stability to ruthenium active species in catalytic cycle, giving it possibility to really run this metathesis with the unprotected groups like a hydroxy group or acidic group. And esters are no problem whatsoever. Yeah, so you can even see, I think for the esters, I think this is the perfect example. Yeah, that it's really, if you use the Grabs catalyst, you cannot really get this kind of activity. It was impossible to run it with the classical NHC system. And here with the CAC ligand and with this Taylor application, you really see that you can really go to the ppm, and the ester is completely not a problem. And you cannot use the Grabs catalyst, because here it's also about stability of the methylene species. So if you have the ethylene, you have the methylene species, and this is the catalytically active species in the mixture, and its stability provides you with the CAC ligand provides the ability to really have a lot of functional group in your substrate.
Thank you. And I think there's some comments or at least a comment in the chat, which maybe I'll let you read at your leisure. It's not really a question. So
let me see the chat.
Here's another one.
For the non-enable, okay, can you speak? Let me see. So this is about the metathesis catalyst. I think they are, of course, they are alternative to ruthenium metathesis. I think this is a shock type, because what I was saying was a really ruthenium metathesis catalyst developed by the Grabs. But of course, you have the whole family of the shock catalyst. They are based on the tungsten and molybdenum. Unfortunately, their performance is not as good as the ruthenium one. So you really need the glove boxes to handle them. So they are very specific. They have some niche applications, but they are very challenging to implement. And ruthenium is far better than any of those. And of course, in the big future, there is a metathesis. Of course, ruthenium is in the same group as iron. So I think there is a couple examples especially for the polymerization. It's not truly metathetic, but I think there is a couple papers working on that and pushing idea of using metathesis with an iron instead of the ruthenium. But that's something it's not yet industrial level. But I think ruthenium is far better depending on than molybdenum. I think the shock catalysts are very sensitive towards oxygen, so you can work with them. But even the ppm level of the oxygen can completely kill the catalyst. They are very not tolerant toward different functional groups, so it's really challenging, and I think they are not as stable. So basically, all the catalysts I show you today, we can ship you, and you can keep it on the bench, for months, for years even, and they're gonna be okay. And you can have like a jar of the catalyst. Whenever you use it, you just take a bit, and it's okay. And it's not the case for the other non-noble metal-based catalysts. So then I think so one of them, of course, is a recovery that you can do when you run a lot of ruthenium, and you can recover. And the second one is idea to having the catalyst, as such a low concentration ppm level that the cost of the catalyst is basically negligible toward the cost of the product. And that, I think, is, of course, you cannot recover it, but it's still economically feasible to run a process with the precious metal method. As you still see palladium coupling, it's still going. And the rhodium, you can still see rhodium going even for hydroformylation reactions. It's the biggest process, and it's the most expensive metal, and it's still working. So there is economic. I think the precious metals are not going anywhere. They're gonna stay with us. They are a good example of circular economy with recovery. In foreseeable future, I don't see the non-precious metal really, having a strong comeback.
Okay, thank you. I think that might be everything. Maybe there's okay, yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, thanks Jan, thanks to everyone for dialing in, and we will try to get a copy of the recording and the slides to you. Have a good rest of your week. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alan, for hosting, making it happen.